Hello kind people of YouTube and welcome back to another video. We have a lot to get through today, so let's start by talking about delusion. The first article for today is about some statements by the director of the Litecoin Foundation and let's say they're questionable at best. Let's read this article. Franklin Richards spoke with Tokenbox at the Web Summit recently and discussed Litecoin's use cases in the current bear market. Franklin Richards said that he doesn't like using the phrase Litecoin is silver to Bitcoin's gold, and explained that it would imply that Litecoin needed Bitcoin to be relevant, and that Litecoin stands tall all by itself, and that it doesn't need Bitcoin. He added that it was not true and that Litecoin is better than Bitcoin in terms of transaction fees and payment processing. Okay, let's stop here for a moment before we continue. Because Litecoin absolutely needs Bitcoin to be relevant. Because do you know why Litecoin is relevant? Because of its positioning compared to Bitcoin and because of when it was established and why it was established at that time. Litecoin essentially functions as a fancy testnet for Bitcoin as a slightly improved version of the original Bitcoin code, which was impressive when it was first launched and which had real advantages over Bitcoin and continues to have real advantages over Bitcoin technologically to this day. But you know what is also true? The space in which it exists is way different from what it was a couple years ago. Nowadays, being slightly better than Bitcoin is meaningless because everyone else is a lot better than Bitcoin. So yes, this is technically true. Litecoin is better than Bitcoin in terms of transaction fees and payment processing. Yes, absolutely, that's true. It's also worse than pretty much every other coin on the market. So Bitcoin can get away with being technologically antiquated because it has that special position as the first major cryptocurrency to emerge, as the one everybody knows, as the one that made the news when it hit higher and higher prices, as the one in the number one, as the one that people declare gold. That is why Bitcoin is still around. It's not because Bitcoin is particularly useful, it's because Bitcoin has a certain image, is seen as something. And Litecoin's image is budget Bitcoin. That is what Litecoin's image is. That is all that Litecoin does that people think about Litecoin. Let's get back to the article. He continued. It has tens of thousands of transactions are being made across the network daily and hundreds of millions of dollars are being moved across the network daily. It's fantastic as a form of money because it serves and does these things very well. It doesn't attempt to go out of its way and do smart contracts built directly into a thing like Ethereum does because we can see how that leads to disaster. That's an interesting way of framing your technological shortcomings. That is a very interesting way of saying we aren't as good technologically as other cryptocurrencies, and what these others are doing, that's disaster anyways. Okay, let's continue here. Furthermore, he continued saying that Litecoin is striving to become a payment solution globally. He added, and in many ways to already it's like, say, doing so many trades and transactions all over, well, daily, people understand how powerful its technology is and for adopting it. That sentence is a bit of a mess, but you have to keep in mind this was on a podcast and was transcribed, so this includes all the times he was correcting himself, he was putting in like likes and all of that. There's only a handful of cryptocurrencies which are listed on every single major exchange out there, and those three are Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. Out of those two are sound money, Bitcoin, and Litecoin. Oh my god, this man is completely delusional. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the reason these three are listed on most major exchanges. It's because Litecoin has been around for a long time. That is the reason. Litecoin has been around for a long time and is seen in relation to Bitcoin. That is why it's on all of these exchanges. Not because people consider it sound money or because people think it will become a global payment solution. All those trades that are happening on Litecoin, those aren't people making payments for items that they're purchasing. That is a lot of money just being moved around, that is a lot of trading, that is a lot of money being sent to and from exchanges. That is not Litecoin being used as a payment solution. Where do you use Litecoin as a payment solution? There's like a handful of websites that accept it, but there isn't a mainstream move or even any kind of real move to use Litecoin as a payment solution. And to call it and Bitcoin sound money as opposed to Ethereum, which apparently is not sound money, I'm gonna need an explanation for that because that is first, the assumption that Bitcoin and Litecoin are sound money to the same extent that, say, fiat currencies are. I would argue right now they are way too they are moving in value way too much. They're fluctuating way too much to be considered sound money. But then to claim that Ethereum is not further, Litecoin doesn't do anything that Ethereum doesn't do better. Like, literally nothing. Nothing. But he continues. It gets more ridiculous. It gets more ridiculous. Referencing to his previous statement, which has said that Litecoin and Bitcoin could very well be the two coins that could be listed on backed exchange. And I'm not going to even read the rest of this because it's just too much now. He thinks Bitcoin and Litecoin are the two coins that will end up on backed. Like, Bitcoin will definitely end up there. And Litecoin ending up there is a distinct possibility. But it won't be only Bitcoin and Litecoin, because this might be a bit tough. But no one really cares about Litecoin anymore. Litecoin hasn't been relevant in a pretty long time. Nobody is developing anything on Litecoin. Nobody is using Litecoin. No big partnerships with Litecoin have happened. The only reason Litecoin is still around is because of its legacy in relation to Bitcoin. That is the only reason it is still around. And to claim anything else, I see how they're trying to reframe Litecoin here, because they're recognizing that Litecoin is in trouble. Litecoin has an identity crisis, because it's not enough anymore just to be the silver to Bitcoin's gold, because a lot of people in the crypto world don't even think of Bitcoin as gold anymore. A lot of people in the crypto world think of Bitcoin as antiquated, as old technology that is still around because a lot of people have affection for it, but not because it's particularly useful. And being a glorified Bitcoin testnet, that doesn't cut it anymore. So don't fall for this. Do not fall for this. Litecoin is, if you're looking for coins that will still be around in 10 years, for coins that will still be used for anything in 10 years, Litecoin is one of the last choices of the major 20 or so cryptocurrencies that I would highlight. Because what is happening with Litecoin? What does Litecoin do that no other coin does better? That 10 other coins don't do better? Where is Litecoin being used for real-life use cases? And once again, which of those are not done better at a larger scale by at least one other major cryptocurrency? Litecoin doesn't have defining features. Litecoin doesn't have technological features that other coins don't have. And you can only frame it as technologically superior when you compare to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin currently isn't technologically superior to anyone. So this is just kind of sad. This just makes me sad. Let's continue to more hopeful news. LinkedIn has released their yearly report about which jobs are in demand, and surprise, surprise, blockchain developer leads the list of most rapidly growing jobs. The role of blockchain developer is the most rapidly growing emerging job in the United States, according to the 2018 US Emerging Jobs Report by LinkedIn, released on December 13th. Over the course of preparing the report, LinkedIn used data from its economic graph to analyze the positions that companies are hastily hiring for, as well as skills related to those positions and roles that have emerged over the past 5 years. The professional social network found that the role of blockchain developer has registered an increase of 33 times in the past 12 months, while cities with the highest demand are San Francisco, New York City, and Atlanta. Among major skills required for the role, LinkedIn notes Solidity, blockchain, Ethereum, cryptocurrency, and Node.js. And this is pretty much all we need to read here. Now, this does not come as a surprise. We know that a lot of companies are hiring blockchain developers, that a lot of companies, large and small, and a lot of startups as well, are looking into blockchain, are looking into either developing their own blockchains, working with existing blockchains, integrating blockchains and cryptocurrencies into their processes. But seeing this number 33 times increase over last year. And keep in mind, 2017 already saw a significant increase of blockchain hirings. So it has pretty much from one year to the next gone from a niche job to a mainstream position that large companies are hiring for. And that is kind of incredible. Now, blockchain developer, of course, doesn't necessarily mean that anything with cryptocurrencies, anything going on with cryptocurrency is there. But it means that the underlying technology is finding mainstream acceptance, at least in the business world. And that will make any integration of cryptocurrency easier in the future. That will make any work with cryptocurrency easier in the future. And this is ultimately a good thing for the entire crypto market. This means all those major companies are looking at blockchain and they're all seeing the potential there. They all want to get in as quick as possible. And most of that will probably not be cryptocurrency projects. But some of them will be. And even the ones that are not will be developing a business world where there is more of an understanding of blockchain and by extension cryptocurrency that will make future integration more likely and more easy. Now let's take a look back and see what this might tell us about the future. If you've been around the crypto world for a long time, and I know a lot of the people watching this channel are relatively new, have gotten into this world 2017, 2018, I have been watching the crypto world since about 2012, so I can vouch for this article. But let's take a look here. If anyone is in need of a harsh reminder of the precarious nature of the altcoin market, one could do worse than to browse historical cryptocurrency data charts. Of particular note is the severe lack of presence by a vast majority of coins which would have been considered major altcoins just 5 years ago. Looking at a historical snapshot of CoinMarketCap's front page from December of 2013, we can see that only Bitcoin, Litecoin and XRP have survived the 5 years since. And just take a look at this top 10 here. Now, in the front you see Bitcoin, Litecoin, XRP. Litecoin has fallen since then. But those three are still well known, are still in the top 10. But look below that. Peercoin. Do you know what Peercoin is? If you're new in the crypto world, probably not. Namecoin. Do you know what Namecoin is? If you're new in the crypto world, probably not. Quark, BitShares, WorldCoin, Megacoin, Primecoin, all the same. Those were major altcoins. When I got into the crypto world, those were always in the top 10. Everyone knew those. Those were some of the biggest altcoin projects. Now, their market cap was tiny compared to Bitcoin. Like, look here. Bitcoin had a 10 billion market cap already, and they all were under 100 million. So they're nowhere near as big compared to Bitcoin as major altcoins are nowadays. And there's a simple reason for that. A lot of those didn't really have a reason to exist. A lot of those were what you would call a shitcoin. Now, I'm not saying every single one of these didn't do anything, didn't have a reason to exist. But these did not represent significant improvements in technology over the existing Bitcoin, over the existing cryptocurrencies. They did not have any interesting or particularly worthy use cases. They were not particularly scalable. They did not have companies or organizations or developers behind them that were really set on improving their use, on developing them. And because of all that, these are now essentially gone. And let's continue with the article. It will tell us a bit about where those coins are now. In fact, from the entirety of the 50 coins listed in 2013, none are currently placed within the market cap top 100 except the 3 previously mentioned. So just think about that. Out of the top 50 cryptocurrencies in 2014, only 3 still remain in the top 100 today. The coin to come closest is Next, a coin which was ranked 16th in 2013 with a market cap of $5 million US. Yes, that used to be enough to be number 16. Now Next floats just outside the top 100, ranked 106 with a market cap of 28 million. So this coin actually managed to increase in value 5-fold. So this is another thing to keep in mind. A lot of those coins have gained some value, though some have also completely dropped off. But the value they gained was so much less compared to other crypto projects. Like even if you're just looking at XRP, which has lost a lot of its value again, even XRP is about 12 times, 10 to 12 times as high in value at the end of 2018 as it was here. And here the best performing of those other coins is 5 times the value it was 2013. Ranked 4th in 2013 with a market cap of 87 million, Peercoin went the other way and now holds a value of 14 million. The once popular Namecoin shared a similar fate, and we don't really need to read the rest of this. But that is why I keep saying, don't just invest in anything, because a lot of these coins were something people sincerely invested in because they thought that in the future all cryptocurrencies would gain value. Now what I keep saying is, look at a project, and as long as it is a legitimate project that has real use cases, that has sound technology, and that has an organization or company behind it that is actively working on improving it, on building relations, on getting tech upgrades out there, then you should be investing. Then you have a legitimate project that will still be around, that will gain value in a couple of years. But there's this meme going around within the crypto world that anything you invest in will go up in value, and that is simply not true. We see, even back here, you could have looked at those and I could have told you that Bitcoin, XRP and Litecoin are the most likely to succeed. Because there were obvious reasons. XRP was by far the most technologically advanced of these and was the only one with any kind of real company that was working on making it useful in the background. Bitcoin, of course, had the prestige of being the first, had a massive market cap. Of course that was going to be around, and Litecoin had prestige associated with, because it was being associated with Bitcoin, because it was considered the silver to Bitcoin's gold. Those are legacy, like, those are considered legendary, and that's why they're still around, and XRP was the newcomer that had amazing technology compared to the others. I could have told you back then those three are the ones that are going to stay around. Because these others, what do they even do? For some of them, I have no idea what they even do, and I'm sure a lot of people who invested in them back then didn't really know either. Because it was a Wild West. There were a bunch of coins being started pretty much every day, and a lot of them were just clones of existing cryptocurrencies with a different name. A lot of them had the same technology, but they just changed like the number of the total supply. There were like minor changes being made. There were a lot of joke coins. There were a lot of coins made for individual websites that no one was using, because what was the point? So be very careful what you invest in and really take a look at the projects. Don't just invest in any cryptocurrency, because there is a chance that in 5 years it will have dropped 80% of its value, even if the market in general gains 20 times the value it had done. Like, right now the market is at least worth 4 times what it was worth then. But most of these are worth less than they were then. Not every coin survives, and a lot of what is in the top 10 now will slowly but surely disappear as well. Now, there are a lot more legitimate projects in the top cryptocurrencies now than there used to be. But there are some that just objectively have less use than others, that are technologically not as advanced, that don't have the same kind of support network. So take a look closely at any project you might be investing in, and get rid of this idea that any major cryptocurrency will go up in value. As we have seen here, out of what used to be the top 10, only 3 are still around and only 4 even gained in value. That is worrying, and you should be really careful about what you're investing in. Not everything succeeds. The crypto world is not just, it's not a golden hen where you can get guaranteed golden eggs. Not everything will survive, and you have to be careful with your investments, because if you are, it was not hard to pick the legitimate projects out of this list. It was really easy. You don't need hindsight, even back then. Because you know how I know? Because those first 3 are the only ones I bought at that time. I never owned any of the others. Never owned any of the others. I predicted them correctly, and anyone else with half a brain who really looked at it could as well. And I'm not trying to say that people were stupid for investing in all the others. I want to say that people were careless. That people have been dragged along by the hype. And don't let that happen to you again. The next bull run is coming. And legitimate projects that have real use cases, that have good teams behind them, that have sound technology, that have real advantages over other coins, that have partnerships, that have support. Those will still be around, those will go up in value. But other ones, especially in the lower parts of the top 100, a lot of those, they won't completely die, but their value will just consistently go down relative to the overall crypto market. They will be delisted from exchanges one by one, and they will just be shells of their former self. So be very careful. Assess everything that you're currently invested in and look at what are they doing? Are they solving real world use cases? Are they doing something that no other coin already does better? And if you don't find good reasons why you should be invested in a coin, pull your money out of it and put it into a coin where you can be more certain of its future. And talking about projects not surviving, we have the first major stablecoin just completely falling apart. Basis, the most well-funded stablecoin startup, has confirmed that it is shutting down and returning all of its remaining funds to investors. The company realized that the regulatory landscape was too unfavorable to launch the project, according to an interview published today in Forbes. The startup's move to return funds to investors was first reported by crypto news site The Block. Originally called Basecoin, Basis had secured $133 million in funding to build an algorithmic stablecoin. Its founder, Nader Al-Naji, I probably mispronounced that, I'm sorry, frequently described the project using code to maintain price stability for its token in the same way the US Federal Reserve does for the dollar. In a blog post today, he wrote, "As regulatory guidance started to trickle out over time, our lawyers came to a consensus that there would be no way to avoid security status for bond and share tokens, though bases would likely be free of this characterization. We considered many alternative paths to launch to try and comply with the regulatory constraints while keeping our product compelling and competitive, including launching offshore and starting off with a centralized stability mechanism," he explained in a post. Ultimately, however, we don't think any of the paths we considered are compelling enough for our users or our investors, or consistent enough with our vision to justify moving forward. This is a very long article that really goes in depth, so I suggest reading this yourself if you want the full story, but the main takeaway here is that between regulation and between this extensive crypto winter that we're going through right now, the first major stablecoin project and an ICO project as well, I believe, was forced to shut down. And I'm not sure how much I'm buying their explanation that it is entirely down to regulation. I assume something else has been going on in the background there. This is still very much a sign of the times that right now crypto is a hard world to break into. We have a lot of valid established projects already. Getting anything new into the market is a risk. And keep in mind you're taking these risks when you're investing in especially new unproven projects, which a lot of them are very promising, but just keep in mind there are risks. And they say they are returning their remaining funding. That sounds like they won't be able to return everything that people invested. So proceed with caution. And let's end this video with some relatively happier news. XRP-based Stellar Lumens trading pair XLM XRP to be launched on CoinField. On December 13th, CoinField, a popular Canadian cryptocurrency exchange, announced that they were launching Stellar Lumens on the platform as an XRP-based pair. And this is from their Twitter page. XLM to be listed shortly on CoinField with 7 new pairs, and special reference here given to the Stellar XRP pair, XLM XRP, while they also have here, they have pairs for all these fiat currencies. What is notably absent is a pair with Bitcoin, a pair with Ethereum. So the only crypto pairing is XLM XRP, all the others are with fiat currencies. That is big. The upcoming XLM XRP pair will be available alongside 6 other direct fiat pairings, such as with US dollar, Canadian, we don't need to read that. The exchange had also made news recently when it was announced that the company's services had gone live in 61 countries. Even then, XRP was the highlight for the first time. CoinField announced trading pairs for XRP with a 0.05% fixed commission rate. So this is very exciting because this is them embracing XRP as a base pair as opposed to Bitcoin or Ethereum. We have seen very little of that, but with XRP's growing importance in the crypto market, it of course has been in the number 2 spot for like a month now. That is the longest it has ever been there, and it has a safe distance between itself and Ethereum on number 3 now. So we can pretty much say at this point XRP has dethroned Ethereum as the most important altcoin, and now we're seeing the results of that. We are seeing major exchanges now using XRP as the base currency for a new listing rather than Bitcoin, rather than Ethereum. And using it rather than Ethereum just makes sense because it is the number 2 as opposed to the number 3. But going for XRP instead of going for Bitcoin means they are keenly aware of a change in the crypto markets, of a change in the way crypto traders want to interact with exchanges, and the growing importance of the XRP token. And this is a harbinger of things to come. We will see more of this. And of course, making this a trading pair with XLM is doubly meaningful because Stellar XLM and Ripple's XRP are generally considered similar projects, are considered in competition sometimes. But ultimately the takeaway here is XRP base pairs are increasing, and now a major exchange has chosen to make the only crypto pairing of a major cryptocurrency that they're adding on there with XRP. Not with Bitcoin, not with Ethereum, not with Bitcoin Cash, not with any of the other major projects, with XRP. We're going to see more of this in the future. XRP is only gonna grow in importance in the crypto markets, especially as a lot of people who used to hate XRP, who used to hate Ripple, are turning around on it because they're realizing that a lot of the arguments they used to have against them are very much just memes that they picked up from elsewhere, that they were just repeating without really looking into them, and that a lot of them were either outright false or were kind of misrepresenting the real conditions around the coin. So we're seeing this is a reflection of a change in perspectives in the crypto world against XRP that we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of investors in the crypto world a lot more positive towards XRP than they used to be, along with XRP growing in value and in market share. And that is wonderful. That is wonderful. And with this, I'm going to end this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. All the links to the articles are, of course, in the description. In the description, you will also find links to my social media pages, as well as ways to support this channel if you feel so inclined. Those are monetary ways to support the channel, but if you don't want to or can't send any money, that is of course also perfectly fine. I would really appreciate if you could just leave a quick like and comment under this video. I know every YouTuber asks you to do this stuff, but it really helps. And I've seen you guys really come through with leaving more likes, leaving more comments since I started talking about it at the end of every video. And I've already seen the benefits of that. So thank you so much to everyone who has been leaving likes and comments. It just helps so much. The best way to support a YouTuber, the single best thing you can do, is just watch their videos to the end, leave a like, leave a comment, and ideally share them with your friends or share them on social media. That does so much. So thank you guys, you've been awesome to me the last couple days. And I'll be back with another video either later today or tomorrow.